Add a material, but until you get a teacher, you just got material.
Amen.
You just got words in a book, but a teacher helps you to understand the words.
Thank you, Lord.
And so then we thank the Lord for, somebody said, Brother Barney said she looked like she ushering this morning, Miss Mother. She's not ushering. Say amen for my wife, our teacher, Lady Deborah Bland.
Amen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Praise the Lord, everybody. So glad to be here, and just thank God for Brother Barney. Thank God for my husband this morning. Amen. I'm just excited about the word, and as he was just kind of talking this morning, ushering us in, I was just sitting there thinking how life is so fleeting. And so we even said this morning on our way to church, Mother, it's already August 9th. Anything you're going to do, believe me, it's time to do it. It's time to do it. I have a couple of friends who are bereaved this morning. I'm going to ask you to pray for them, and I'm just to show you how life is so fleeting. One of my friends, her sister was sick and was being treated for pneumonia. When she went to the doctor, that's what they were treating her for. She went to the doctor on a Saturday. They discovered that she had cancer. The cancer was already in its 4th stage. They found out that Saturday, and that Tuesday she was dead. Life is fleeting. I have another friend who has a nephew, and they found him dead. I just want to, my heart is going out to all of the families this morning. Life is just fleeting. We're here just for a moment. And so whatever you have purposed in your heart, whatever God has given you, because he certainly has given us something, whatever he has given you, it's time to be about our Father's business and go ahead and get that done. We just give God the glory this morning for conditions being as well as they are.
Amen.
Because for you and for me, it could be something that could be so much worse.
Oh, yes.
And then we encounter other people who are going through, and then you look at yourself and you said, thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
It could be me.
Yes.
And so we thank God for his mercy this morning, and we thank God for his grace this morning, because he's just good anyway.
Amen.
He's just good anyway. And so we just giving him the glory, and we're so thankful for our study. We are in the book of Genesis. Turn with me to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis. We're in the patriarchal stage. And on our illustration here, we are here. We know that here is where God called out Abraham, and God made a covenant with Abraham, and that covenant involved a promise of the nation right here, the nation and the land. God said, I'm going to make you the father of a nation, and then I'm going to give you this land. So the covenant then was an unconditional covenant, because God said, I am the Lord thy God. And so when God says I am, God's letting you know that he is all that you will ever need. All that you'll ever need to meet all of your needs. And so that's what he said to Abraham. Abraham was called out of the situation that he was in. And sometimes all we need is for God to see us and call us out of the situation that we're in. And I want you to know that he has the ability to do that. But sometimes it seems like we're surrounded by everything that nobody not even thinking about God. No one's thinking about God, and they're not thinking about you either. But God is able to call us out of a situation. And that's just what he did for Abraham. Abraham was down in around idolatrous people. But God called him out and said, I got something different for you. And I want you to do that for me. And so here we're at a point where we began to talk about Isaac, and we talked about Isaac and the character of Isaac, and that Isaac and Rebekah had 2 children. And who were they? Who were the 2 children? Jacob and Esau. So who can tell me what were some of the differences between Jacob and Esau?
One was red, it was hairy, and another one had smooth skin.
Okay, very good, very
One
good.
was a hunter, another was a mama's baby.
All right, all right, all right. And so then Rebecca realized that something was going on inside her, and she realized that there was a struggle. The struggle was between the twins, but then it was going to be a struggle that was going to last a lifetime, and we're going to continue to talk about that today. Two nations were within her womb, two nations within her womb, and so Israel and the Edomites. And so that struggle has lasted down through the years. And so as Jacob, we said there were some similarities between Jacob and even his father. Some similarity, not Jacob, but Isaac and his father. Some similarities. And Isaac was more mild-mannered, I would think, than Abraham, because he really didn't like confrontation. Not really confrontation, but he went down to because there was a famine, just as it was in his father's day. There was a famine, and he went to Abimelech. Abimelech's men got jealous because of the wealth that he had, and we know what happened is they began to stop up all of the wells that Abraham had, and so the water was important. Water was important, just like it's important to us today. But even more so for them, because they needed to feed the livestock, they needed to feed the cattle, they needed it for their people. Water was just something that they needed. And so they would stop up the wells everywhere he went. And they followed him to stop up the wells. Isn't that just like the devil?
Yeah, just like
The devil won't leave you alone. The devil will not leave you alone. He'll just keep going wherever you go. And sometimes we think that we're going to get away from the devil. We think that. But wherever we go, you know, he just kind of knows and follows us too. But he did finally come to a place where the enemy left him alone. And so that will happen to us as well. He'll leave us for a season, just for a season.
All right.
But you can't get too comfortable. You can't get too comfortable because he's leaving for a season only to come back again. Only to come back again. And so that's kind of really what's happening here. He left them for a season with this situation. So he finally comes to a place where he finds Rehoboth. He finds a well, and it's Rehoboth, and that's a well that they didn't fight over. And so thank God that they came to a point where the conflict could end. And so now he returns to Beersheba. Let's go to Genesis, the 21st chapter. And Beersheba is familiar because that's the place where his father had been. Genesis, the 21st chapter. And let's look at let me find it. It's Genesis, the 21st chapter, and it's around I have 22, but it's around the 32nd verse. 22 is on the slide, but that's incorrect. Are you there? Let me start at the 29th verse. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, what mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, for these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. And so now let's go over back to Genesis, the 24th chapter. And so now we've come to a point where they have ended their conflict over the wells. They've ended their conflict. They've come to a point. He's at Beersheba, familiar. And so God had blessed him. But now, like I said, the devil left him for a season on that respect. But there was conflict already starting at his house because Esau had gone and married some women of the land. And we know that Abraham didn't want his son marrying anybody from the land. And so Isaac was like Abraham. He didn't want them marrying anyone from the land either. We would call them heathens. Didn't want to marry any heathens either. But Esau had gone and married two. And so later we're going to find out he's going to marry another one just to provoke his father and his mother, because by that time he's going to be angry because he was unable to get a blessing. So now let's talk about Rebekah for just a little bit. Rebekah, go to chapter 24. Are you there already?
All right.
And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. And so we know that Eliezer, from this passage and the passages that will come in this chapter, we know that Eliezer went and saw Rebekah coming to the well, and that's who was chosen for Isaac. So to talk a little bit about the character of Rebekah, go down to Genesis chapter 24 and verse 50. 24 and 50. Let's look at the family that she came from. 24 and 50. Are you there? Then Laban and Bethuel answered. Now Laban is her brother. Laban is her brother. Isn't that right? Rebekah? Rebekah. Laban is her brother. So then Laban and Bethuel, and who is Bethuel? That's correct. So then Bethuel is her father. Bethuel is her father, and Bethuel is the son of Nahor, which is Abraham's brother. All right. So then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, The thing proceedeth from the Lord. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be thy master's son's wife, as the Lord hath spoken. But even before that, when Rebekah had come back, Eliezer had given her jewels. Eliezer had given her something to show that she was chosen.
All right.
And Laban said, well, then come on in. Let's talk about it. So you can kind of get a feel for the family she came from, because she had some of the same characteristics as Laban had. Laban was a schemer as well. We're going to see that later on, aren't we? We're going to see that later on. And so then Isaac and Rebekah meet down in the 62nd chapter of the 62nd verse of chapter 24. And we know that he took her to be his wife. And so now we're at a point where Rebekah, Jacob is the mama's boy, as Mother Nun has already told us. And in chapter 25 and verse 29, and Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. In other words, it wasn't important to him. He didn't place the value on his birthright that anybody who was thinking sanely would have placed on it. Because with the birthright came blessings. With the birthright came certain rights, which is why it's called the birthright. And so let's go over to Genesis chapter 27. I don't hear you. I can see the light on. Is it on mute?
Go ahead. But anyway, I want to make a point. And it's something that kind of keeps me conflicted, and that is the difference between God's predestination and our free will.
Okay.
I know that God predestines, but then I know I have free will too. I got a choice. And when I look at Genesis 25 and 23, and God tells them, before they're ever here, and I think you'll find that over in Romans 10 as well, before the children are ever born, God says in Genesis 25 and 23, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So God has already predestined. The only way I can get that in my mind is that God knows everything.
That's right.
From the beginning to the end. He already knows the end before you ever get there, because he's not limited by time and space like us. And sure enough, just like God said, here this guy comes, and he did that of his own free will, his birthright. And the birthright is different from the blessing, because the birthright was a spiritual blessing. His right before God to stand as, because he was the eldest. Mm-hmm. And so he had the spiritual birthright. But he sold it. But God already knew it. So I guess I just have a hard time with predestination and man's free will, because I don't think that God made him do that, but I just think God just already knew before he ever got here.
Certainly.
And he's going to be that kind of person.
Certainly. Thank you, Pastor Bland. Anybody else? Okay, so we are in Genesis 27. Are you there? So a little bit about Rebecca's character. Rebecca was a schemer. Rebecca was a schemer, and that's a hard thing to say about somebody. That's not a good reputation to have. If somebody think about you when they call your name, Lula Nunn, well, you know Lula Nunn, child, she ain't no good. Lula Nunn is a schemer. That wouldn't be too nice, would it?
No.
All right, Mother.
But you go back to before she ever got married. It's when he gave her that jewelry and everything. So she started scheming. And and I often says a lot of times, and of course, if you put it there, that's just like our children, you can only teach them. And you feel satisfied when they obey and follow your teaching. But when they don't, you still satisfied because you said, I put it there.
Mm-hmm.
They just chose to go a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's of their free will. Once they get of age, that's one thing I have settled in my mind and heart. They're of age, you can no longer, but you can if they ask you. You can't even just go up these days and tell them. If they ask you, you can give them sound advice. But before she ever got married, there was some scheming going on when he gave her the jewelry. So she knew how to scheme, so she just go scheme on. And what did she go do? She teaching her children.
She continued to do that. She did.
So then her son learned how to scheme.
And that's another point there. We need to kind of keep that in mind too, that our children are watching us.
Are watching us, right?
They're watching us, and they're seeing how you handle situations, and they're seeing what you're doing in certain situations. So they're watching us. They're watching us, and they get a lot of their ways from us.
Exactly.
They do. They get a lot of their ways from us. And so she was not just a schemer, but she was an eavesdropper too.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all,
Listening. Come on,
You walking around somebody, you want to feel comfortable. You want to be comfortable around the people you're around. You know what I'm talking about? But if you can't even talk in your own house,
looking over your shoulder.
and if you got a door closed, and the door is closed for a reason.
Right.
But you know some people are so low down that they'll come to the door to try to stay there to hear what you're talking about. Or they'll linger around, which is what she did. She's lingering around because Isaac is talking to Esau.
Right.
Isaac is talking to Esau, but then she lingering around. I don't know, she might have been washing the dishes or something, but then doing like that every now and then, to hear what was being said.
She had to.
And so in chapter 27 it says, and Rebekah heard when Isaac spoke to Esau, and Esau went to the field because Jacob said, my time is coming. Isaac said, my time is coming. I'm just, I'm just getting old, and I just want some more of that good food that you make for me. Just go out and get me some venison and just make some of that good food that you make for me. Savory meat such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field, and then in verse 6 it says, and Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother.
Lady Deborah, right there, Isaac kind of remind me of my daddy. My daddy had cancer and died since 30 years old. Ain't nobody, the doctor hadn't diagnosed him, and Isaac lived another 40 years after that. But oh Lord, I'm getting ready to die.
And so in verse here, so the scheme comes to light here. Scheme comes to light, and she calls Jacob, and she tells Jacob, he sent Esau out because he wants Esau to go out to get some venison, and so this is what I want you to do. She says in verse 9 or verse 8, she says, now obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence 2 scheming right here. Instead of him getting venison, you go to what we already have, some goats.
Right.
Get the goats, and I'm going to make it taste like venison. So she must have been a really, really good cook. You take some goats, and you make it taste like venison, which is what she did. Because Isaac didn't know the difference, did he? He didn't know the difference, and so sometimes we have to watch it, y'all. Now, don't you get too hungry. That's a free one right there. That's a message right there. Don't get too hungry, because sometimes your stomach will betray you, and that's on a spiritual and a natural level as well.
Lady Deborah, we had to learn when we first got married. Don't go to the grocery store hungry.
All right. That's so true. That is so true.
Lord knows, I don't do it now. You'll come out of there with $200 worth of junk. Junk.
So you can fix quick.
And that's even on a spiritual level. So don't that's because we can reach for anything. You get so hungry sometimes. You want something. You want to you want to be filled, and your spirit needs to be fed. And so when that happens, you start grabbing and reaching for anything, and then that's not good either. Because you got to be able to have a spirit of discernment to understand what's good for you.
Amen.
And so that's just a life lesson there. And so in verse 11, and Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. So now he didn't say, what we doing, Mom, is not right. That's just not right. But what he's trying to figure out is it safe? Is it safe to do it? So him and his mom are kind of, they just kind of alike. They just kind of, but still God is all in the plan. God is all in the plan. And so in verse 15, Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, went and got his clothes, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. I mean, those wheels had to have been just turning. She had it all figured out. She took the skin off the goat and put that on him and make him feel like he was hairy. Then she went and got Esau's clothes because they smelled like he had been out in the field. And so she put those clothes on him. So he had hair and now he smelled like Esau. And so now she's going to send him in to Isaac. And so in verse 19 it says, and Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Lying, scheming, all of that goes together, doesn't it? Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou found it so quickly, my son? Well, now, Isaac, still, you might be blind, but you still got some sense. Because you know that it take longer than that to go kill it, go find it, kill it, cook it, and bring it to the house. But then you letting still your stomach is doing more other thinking than your brain is. And so he said, because the Lord thy God brought it to me. That is Jacob. Because the Lord brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice. Here, his mind, he's got enough faculties, mental faculties to understand that doesn't sound like Esau. Since he says the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother's Esau's hands. So he blessed him, and Esau must have been really extremely hairy. Extremely hairy. And he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore, God give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting, and he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that my soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed.
You see, Lady Deborah, this is where man makes his mistake. You see how distressed he is now, because see, he know that the money go with this, but he wasn't concerned about his spiritual standing with God. And that's reading the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, his righteousness, all these things will be added unto you. Nobody think about heaven until nobody die. Everybody die, go to heaven. Whenever you go to a funeral, well, now he with such and such, or he with that, you ain't doing no but lying. You know, you don't just get to heaven because you say you went to heaven. You have to receive the payment that God provided for us through his son dying. Just because you die and we have a funeral at the church don't send you to heaven. And so, but now he is oh so concerned. You know, I can't even think his name. It's Esau and Jacob. He said, I'm Esau. I'm your oldest. But you didn't worry about being
That's
the
right.
oldest.
That's
You didn't
right.
worry about your position
That's right.
until it came down to something down here. And that's the reason that, it's just so important for me today not so get so caught up in carnal things, not get caught up in what's down here, because all this going to pass away. All this going to pass away. I told you this morning, I said, all us down here jostling each other and trying to move this person out the way so we can get some kind of significance and where we can be, and all of us going to be over in just a minute.
That is so true. So just to piggyback on what Pastor Bland is saying, let's go to Hebrews, the 12th chapter. Hebrews 12. Because now he feels the sorrow. But it's just funny how you can just, you come to your senses. Just
Lady Deborah, that's the reason they always say, while the blood is running warm in your veins.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so Hebrews 12. Are you there? Let's go to Hebrews 12 and let's look at the 16th. Let's look at the 16th verse. So let me get this started at the 14th verse. How about that? It says, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. And so it's just as Pastor Bland has alluded to. Now, these were tears of regret. It wasn't tears of, oh, my birthright. It wasn't because he had lost the covenant blessing. It wasn't because of that. It's because the money is gone. I won't have a chance to get the money now. I won't have a chance to,
And Lady Deborah, this all goes back to Genesis 3:15 when he talks about the seed. All of this is pointing toward Christ Jesus. And Christ would have come through him if he had been in his spiritual place. But he didn't care about that. All he cared about. And that's, it just happened to me this morning, because that's just the tendency as a human being, just to care about what's right in front of you, instead of seeing the big picture, seeing the long.
So true. And so I'm flip-flopping, but just to kind of get a picture of the whole picture. So now, okay, Isaac had gone, and he had gone to Rehoboth, and then he was ending the conflict with Abimelech. But if you go back to chapter 26 and verse 34, Esau was at home starting another type of conflict, okay? So Esau, in verse 34 of chapter 26, Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and Rebekah. A grief because they were heathens. And so they're bringing a different kind of spirit into the house. Okay? They're bringing a different kind of spirit into the house. And so now one conflict has ended. So now here he is, he crying over the birthright. But no, you went out and you married two heathen women. You sold your birthright. So it just was not, you weren't interested in the things of the spirit. You were not interested in the things of the spirit. You wanted to satisfy your own flesh. And so when you want to satisfy your flesh, you'll do just about anything. So I'm just talking about me this morning. You'll do just about anything. So I've learned to say never, because you don't know what you'll do when the time comes. And so now he's crying over something that he did, result of his own action. Do you know that there's a consequence to every action? There's So something that we try to teach our children, whether it's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing, there's a consequence to every action. And at some point, then you have to be man enough to own up to what you've done. You have to be woman enough to own up to what you've done. And we want to put everything on the devil. But how many of us know that sometimes we put ourselves in a situation? Sometimes we do that to ourselves. And so when we go back to Genesis 27, let's go back there. Genesis 27 and verse 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. I'm just waiting on the right time in the right place. Then Jacob need to watch out, because I'm going to get revenge on him for what he did to me. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee, thus comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done, Not, she didn't put herself in that, did she? He needs to forget what you did, not what we did. You need to forget what you did, and I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? You see, they, like I said earlier, it grieved them that Esau had taken wives from the land. And so now Jacob, or Isaac rather, he's listening now to Rebekah. And so he doesn't want anything to happen to Jacob either. And so in verse 28, chapter 28, verse 1, Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. So they came together and they sent him away in order to preserve his life and in order for him to get a suitable bride. And so Esau has a grudge, and he's upset because he's been deceived. And so I have a discussion question for you at this point. And so I want to start by asking the question, and just think about it. When you think about deception, do the ends justify the means? Okay, so think about that. So the reason you're deceiving someone, okay, does it justify what you've gotten after you deceived that person? Okay, what you're getting, okay, what you're getting. You're the deceiver. You're the deceiver, and you've gotten something. Whatever it is you deceived someone to get. The way you got it, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Just think about it. Just think about that. I don't want you to, just think about that. Have you ever deceived anybody? Okay. Have you ever, okay, so you've deceived someone. What you got, was it worth what you went through to get it? Okay, all right. So okay, you talked that out. Okay, so here's what I want you to discuss. This is what I want you to discuss. Is it possible to recover after you've been deceived? And if so, I'm talking about the victim. If so, what is the path to recovery? Is it possible to recover after you've been deceived? And if so, what is the path to recover? To recovery. So I'm saying you pretend now, or you think in your mind on a time that you've been deceived. Is it possible for you to recover after you've been deceived? Okay, so y'all talk about that. Is it possible to recover after being deceived? And if so, what is the path to recovery? group to group.
Okay, I'm going to start back here at the back.
Okay, is it possible to recover after being deceived? So now you're the victim.
Who is the speaker back here? Ms. Helen? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, it's possible to be deceived.
Okay, is it possible to recover
Yes,
after
ma'am.
being
Yes,
deceived?
ma'am, it's possible to recover.
Okay,
And the pathway to that is forgiveness.
okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you,
Who
thank
is
you.
over here? Mr. Davis? Hold that to your mouth.
Well, like I say, what I say, you can have trust in a person, and then you trust this person gonna be right or do the right thing, and then later, he turn around and deceive you. So then that make you, the only way you can get out of it or clear your own conscience is by forgiveness.
Okay, okay.
Out of these three saints, who is the speaker? Stephanie?
We basically said the same thing: forgiveness and prayer.
Okay.
And that's all you can do. You can have to forgive them, because if not, it'll eat you up. It'll eat you up. So you have to forgive them, and if you have trouble forgiving them, you have to pray about it. And that's so you can get that out your heart. Get that out your heart.
Okay, okay, okay. All right.
They say I can speak for our group. I think when you said that, Lady Deborah, what came to all our mind, that's weird. All of us, first thing came to mind, forgiveness. That's the only way to get out of that, because I'm hurt now, because I've been deceived. But a precursor to forgiveness for me is the truth. And truth will make you free. And so the way you deceived me was, somewhere in my mind, I made you be something other than what you were. And so when I can finally, and the person who has deceived you is hardly ever going, they're never, the whole lifetime, going to clear this up for you. They're going to always, because that's who they are. And so they're always going to keep you tricked. You've got to swallow a great chunk of truth and say, you know what? That's who they were all the time. I made them be who I wanted them to be. And then once that I do that, this is just my way to freedom, is to say, I'm not mad at you no more. You just were being who you were.
Thank you. And so let me just ask this, as you're going to thank all of you for that. So you all made it sound really, really easy. You did. You made it sound really, really easy. So does that just happen overnight?
No. Survive the process.
Okay. All right then. So okay, it's not just something you forgive. You forgive certainly, but it is not something that happens overnight.
No, it's not.
It's something that takes some time. Now some people say, "Oh yeah, well, time he did it, I forgave him." But let me just.
For me as a person, sometimes it depends on what they have done. And something you can just get over. And sometimes the hurt is so deep, it does take time. But you know that you're going to have to forgive in order to get past it. But it just takes prayer. And sometimes it takes years.
Exactly.
Sometimes it takes years.
Exactly. Exactly. So it is a process. And Lord, let me just say, if you are the deceiver, do not expect for it to happen overnight. Don't expect that's really what happens. You're the one that, you wrong somebody, you deceived them, and they just need to go on. They need to forget about it.
Now, Carl Ray, is some of this for me too?
I'm just talking. The shoe fit, wear it. That's for everybody. Now, this is just for everybody. And so I'm just saying, this is just helpful, because you need to know that if you're the deceiver, it's not just going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. And so, yes, it is possible to recover, because we've all been deceived, and we're still here. And we have all deceived, and we're still here. We have survived that part of the process, and that's it's going to happen again. We've been deceived, and that's not going to be the last time.
Lady Deborah, to me, the greatest part is, it's like, if I've deceived, I made myself believe that chair is white. Mm-hmm. The chair red. And that's the reason that usually when you deceive, Brother Brimley, everybody looking at you like you're crazy. Because most folk know it. Everybody know it but you. Everybody know that seat is red, but you think it's white, because that's what you've been led to believe. And it's a long process to accepting the seed is red.
That's so true. Like you said, it's a
Once I
great,
get there, I'm on my way.
like you said, it's a big chunk of truth. And sometimes it's hard to swallow. Sometimes a chunk of truth is hard to swallow. But I tell you the truth, once you realize it for what it is, once you realize that it is what it is, it's much easier. Much easier.
Hold on, let me get this straight right now. The reason I'm giving you the mic is because that video is recorded. You cannot hear, when we listen to the video, we cannot hear it except. So get over your little shyness. You ain't no star, nothing like that. We just trying to hear you.
Amen. Praise God. But Lady Deborah, this what I wanted to say was like when you got a person that's always just ready to forgive, regardless. Because Christy is just like that, and she just make you feel so bad sometimes, because when you doing stuff to her or something, she'll say, well, it's okay, you just mama. I know that's just how you are. She'll never try to take it to well, let's talk about this and let's get this out. No, you just right because you mama. And I ain't gonna worry about it. So it's over with. I don't like that conversation.
Can you explain that, Christy?
Well, it sounds like to me, Christy is just being who she is. And then you just being who you are. And so, sometimes we just have to accept people for who they are. Because there's nothing, that's just, we all have different personalities. So are you not telling how you feel, Christy? It's just
Time is up.
okay. And this is the last comment. Brother Brimley's time is the last comment. So we'll talk about that after.
I think as a daughter, she's being more respectful than anything else. That's just a lot of respect in that. It's not that she wants to resist or go against what you're saying. She's being respectful.
Amen.
Well, she probably also saying that, Mama, no matter what I say, you gonna be Mama. That's you gonna be the way you.
And then one thing that y'all may be overlooking is that Christy may not be deceived, Marilyn.
Exactly.
She's not deceived. She know. She know who you are. Okay.
And with that being said, we're going to pick up where now Jacob is a man on the run. He's a man on the run as a result of the actions of him and his mom. His father and mother send him away. But then the process of getting to where he's going to have an encounter with God. And so we're going to pick up there where Jacob is resting at Bethel. We'll pick up there next Sunday. Give the Lord a hand praise, everybody.